Life is ready to give you your varsity letter in basketball if only you're willing to embrace the lessons you can learn. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad from Project Eli, where we educate, lead, and inspire. And we're going to continue. This is part 3 of basketball lessons that also apply to life. I'm trying to give this to Eli in his language, but once again, you don't have to be a basketball player to understand this. It's very, very simple. First thing we want to talk about is, if you ever watch the basketball game and see guys dive on the floor for a ball, or do you ever see guys step in front of somebody that's going full speed at the basket and take the contact right in the chest? I got some news for you folks. Those aren't things that people do naturally. If you watch a pickup game on the playground, you never see people diving on the ground, and you never see people getting in front to try and take a charge. That's something that has to be coached. It's not something that you want to do. It takes you as a basketball player out of your comfort zone. It's not something that you want to do. So as a coach, what do you suppose we do? We make them do it in practice. That's what we do. And we have a drill where somebody passes the ball and another guy's coming full bore, and you got to move over and get in his way and take the hit, and you practice. We used to practice it. It'll make it so much, make it fun too when you do stuff like that, where you take the hit, and as soon as the guy hits your chest, you go, oh! You know, you make a noise, you know, to get the attention of the official, but you've got to be there. You've got to be planted. And the key thing is, just as soon as you feel the contact, that's when you fall back so that you don't get hurt. But when people see that, it's not something that they want to do naturally. Diving on the floor is another thing. What we would do is we'd put the ball in the middle of the foul line and have 2 players stand on the boxes in the foul lane. You know, there are 2 boxes that are down near the beginning of the basket, and blow the whistle and say, go! And they both have to go dive to go get the basketball. Why? Because if you don't do those things in practice, guess what? They're not going to do those things in the game. You've got to get people out of their comfort zone. You've got to get yourself out of your comfort zone if you want to be more productive. Which brings me to game planning. Okay, before we would play every game, before 2 days before the game, if we had, you know, if the game was, if we were practicing on Wednesday, the game was, let's say, Friday night. On Wednesday, we would go over what our game plan is going to be for this particular team. I remember a couple of different things that I want to talk to you about. One was we played a school that was an unbelievably fast-breaking school, and so we needed, when we practiced, he said, be ready, they're going to run your butts off all the way, back and forth, and that school was Saratoga, and we even called, when we wanted to do that, but if we were down and we wanted to get the pace going, you know, like get the ball and scoot, we called it Toga, all right, so people would know what to do. The other thing is, when you have a game plan, you want to take advantage of your strengths. So if you have, you know, a big guy, let's say, that, you know, you want to get him the ball right near the basket, then you say, all right, that's our game plan. So we're focusing on getting the ball down low to Mike, all right? And your first look is always to Mike. If you can get the ball to him near the basket, get him the ball. That's our game plan, all right? And, you know, you would have, depending upon who your opponent is, your game plan would vary. You know, that you want to focus on your strengths versus their weaknesses, and also be aware of their strengths versus your weaknesses and what you were going to do to overcome. If they had a big man that was very good at getting the ball, then we had to have help. We had to have people, what you call in basketball, cheat, all right, where they would cheat off their man and try and get in front of the guy and deny that big guy the ball. And then, so we call it help and recover. You go and help, you know, and deny the ball, and then you go back and recover to your man. These are all things that you put in the game plan. In business, in life, do you even have a game plan? Have you looked at your strengths? Have you looked at your weaknesses? Have you looked at your opponent? Your opponent might be a scenario, it might be the weather, it might be your customers, all right? I mean, these are the people that you want to win over, all right? So what is your game plan? Have you given that some thought? You've got to have a game plan going in. You have to visualize in your mind what it's going to take to win, and once you do that, then you plan how you're going to perform it on a step-by-step basis. Timeouts and breaks. All right, use timeouts a lot of time for a number of different reasons. All right, one reason is the other team is just running up the score and you want to break their momentum. All right, so you call a timeout, you get your guys to regroup, you get everybody to catch their breath, all right, so they go back out there at full strength. The other reason you might call a timeout is a strategic reason. Let's say it's the end of the game. You know, I remember, this is one of my favorite memories as a coach. You know, I had a guy that hadn't seen a lot of playing time, and he was out in the game at the beginning of the fourth quarter because one of my starters had fouled out, and he was my best option, and he was nervous as heck. He was only a freshman going into the game. And every time he'd get the ball, he'd take it, he'd get rid of it like it was a hot potato. He couldn't wait. And then there was one time he had the ball and he's wide open. He takes the shot and he missed everything. And that was deflating for him, okay? So then we get down to the end of the game, and there's like 7 or 8 seconds left in the game, and I call everybody together, you know, for the timeout. Okay, this is what we're going to run. This is how we're going to do it, you know. And then I turned to this particular kid. His name was Scott, and I said, Scott, the reason you're in the game is because I have confidence in you. I know you had the air ball. Forget about it. You get the ball in this situation in a shooting position, take the shot. Why is it my favorite memory as a coach? Guess what happened? I had my best shooter take the shot. The rebound went directly to Scott. 3, 2, 1, boom. He puts it in the hole. Game over. Thrill of his lifetime. His parents came up to me. They were thrilled. Absolutely my best moment as a coach that I remember. Okay, so, you know, take advantage of the timeouts to regenerate, take advantage of the timeouts to strategize, all right? And you got to take a break in the wonderful world of business also. You've got to regenerate. And when you do that, I'm not saying go to your phone and go to your emails and things like that. Give yourself some quiet time to just regenerate. That will make you most productive if you're going to just take a break and then go back to where you were. Because if you start a new task, then you have to restart the old one. Okay? And that takes more time and more effort. So don't start a new task, just use it to regenerate. Tedious drills, practices, and rehearsals. My goodness. You know what? As a coach, you're coaching basketball, one of the things that you see all the time is, you know, you've got to have these different drills that you do. And because your guys have to be able to run, they have to be able to cut, they have to be able to see things. And you're running them over and over and over and over. And one of the things, you know, I know that they're tedious. They know they're tedious. We're focusing on detail. We're focusing on developing muscle memory with particular movements that I want them to do so that they will be more productive in their actions. So what do? Well, one of the things we used to do is always make it a competition. All right, so let's say we had a shooting drill. One team would shoot against the other. The first team that made 10 baskets wins. The second team has to run sprints. Right? That was one. I mean, and if somebody did something where on the team, as an example, when we were practicing our press, one of the things you have to know is when to shuffle your feet and when to turn and run, because basketball is a game of angles, and you want to capture the most productive angle to stop the dribbler. Well, when the guy was shuffling his feet instead of turning and running to get ahead of the dribbler, that's like a dog chasing a car. The dog never chases the car. We all used to go, arf, 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 arf. Okay? And if we had to bark twice, the whole team had to run sprints. That would teach the guy that he needed to turn and run instead of to shuffle. So a little discipline. So you make it fun. And the other thing as a coach that I would do is I would challenge the team and I'd say, if you guys are able to do this, then I'll run sprints. And boy, did they love to see the coach run sprints. That was like their favorite activity, you know. So recognize that in order to achieve excellence, in order to put pieces of a puzzle together to make a big whole, one of the things you have to do is drill, practice, and rehearse. And that can be tedious. That's getting back to basics. That's getting back to fundamentals. And those are things that you have to master if you want to go to the next level. So find a way to make your practice and rehearsals a little bit more exciting. Make some sort of a competition, make some sort of a measurement, and that way you'll have something to strive for, and it'll make it a little bit more exciting. But it's something that you must master if you want to move to the next level. Steph Curry doesn't do all the fancy dribbling if he doesn't know how to dribble the regular way. All right? Too many kids I see out there are practicing behind the back dribbling when they can't even dribble with their left hand. Come on, get the basics down first. Review results. That's something that you have to do time to time. And in a basketball game, it's easy. They give you quarters, they give you halves, and at halftime, what you do is you review the results. Okay, what's the score? Where are we standing? How are we doing? How many guys have fouls? Are they in foul trouble? How many timeouts do we have left? All of the different things, all the different pieces that you want to put together so that you have them at your fingertips when it's time to make a decision. You don't want to be in a position when you're making a decision. You want to have all of the factoids in here so that when the crisis comes up, you're in a position to make that decision. As an example, at halftime, let's suppose we had a particular guy on the other team that was a good player, but he had 3 fouls at halftime. All right? Guess what we would do? All right, let's try and get the ball down low, and you go one-on-one with them and try and pick up a 4th foul. And when you pick up the 4th foul, there's only 5 fouls, you're out of the game. All right, so if we got that guy out of the game, do you suppose that would help our cause? You betcha. Or on the other hand, one of our guys is in foul trouble. We might say, you know what, we're going to get out of man-to-man, we're going to go into zone, we're going to try and protect, Fred from picking up his 4th foul. So you go through different, you take a look at the results, and if you're way behind, are we going to run, are we going to press, are we, all of the different strategies that you can employ, but you have to be able to measure your results and be in a position to make changes. Same thing, of course, is true in business, isn't it? All right? And boy, do we know that in today's times, what you used to be able to do, you can't do anymore. Now you're doing it all on the computer. You review the results and you make changes. But somebody has to know how to use the computer. That person is not me, all right? But somebody has to know how to use the computer to keep the organization together, to make sure that we continuously are productive as a unit. Next thing that I refer to as mind sweat. Not mindset, mind sweat. Mind sweat means you have the drive, you have the want to go and perform a task that isn't the most pleasant task to perform. When people are playing defense in basketball, most of the guys are pretty good athletes. What separates a really good defender from someone not so good is their drive, their desire. It's a want to. I want to do this. I want to be in this position. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to work my butt off. That's what makes a good defender. And you'll see it when you watch when you watch a game, you see which guys are really out there and they're really moving and they really focus on it. On the other hand, you also have, in business, you want to have the same thing. There are going to be certain things that you're going to have to perform that you're not going to want to, but you have to. So go master them as much as you have to in order to put yourself, you have to be able to embrace the challenge. And because we never end a meeting on a philosophical note, why don't we all get out there and charge? I'm Eli's dad.